Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit about SoundSeal's outdoor noise control options. My name is Kevan Mann. I'm the Business Development Manager for SoundSeal. Also with me here is Aaron Duncan. He'll be talking a lot through the industrial and other outdoor noise control options as well in a bit. I do want to just point out that in your taskbar, we have a questions section and also a chat. If you have any questions you'd like to bring up, please feel free to type those in as we go along. We will likely get to them at the end of the presentation, so we can just keep everybody's time in mind and kind of get through it. But again, thank you so much for joining us. I just want to turn it over to our industrial sales manager, Aaron Duncan.
Thanks, Kevin. How's everybody doing out there? I know you're not going to answer back, and that's okay. Again, it's already been said. Kevin said thank you very much. I'm saying the same for joining us today. Really going to just touch on some of the application and introduction on the outdoor noise control products, mainly in the industrial group, but we got some crossover into the architectural group as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about are temporary outdoor noise products. We can jump to the next one there. When you think temporary, the big term there is construction. Anything that is going to be regarded as anywhere from a couple months to a couple years, 3 to 5 years, we would refer to as a temporary barrier or a construction barrier. And we have two types, one with a reinforced noise barrier and another with a non-reinforced. Both of them are going to have various 1-inch or 2-inch quilt options. They're both extremely durable. One is actually rated for wind load, which is the reinforced noise barrier. The non-reinforced version is more of an economical and is typically used low to the ground around fencing. And this project is very unique. We had a cooling tower where we did some value engineering where we used the non-reinforced barrier version toward the bottom several tiers. And then as we got up into some high wind, we used the reinforced barrier option. So we were able to kind of highlight both products for this. Both of them employ exterior grade Velcro, grommets across the top and bottom and middle as needed. And again, both of these have about a 5-year minimum lifespan when they're installed properly.
And that kept the project a little more economical as well, with the lower layers not being as expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And it was one of those things where they gave us a budget and we said, great, we'll try to work within that. And then we engineered it in regards to that. So it actually worked out beneficial for everyone. Here's the most common application that you're going to see. Blankets on a fence. I know it's not pretty. It's not going to win any awards, but this is what people are looking for most of the time when they say, hey, I've got demolition, I've got construction, I've got drilling, pretty much, anything of the sort, even some seasonal events as well, like some of the larger cities will have some safety fencing with noise blankets, temporary blankets on them. And there are even a few people out there who will buy large portions of these and then rent them out. So, sky's the limit there, but this is a very common application. In this particular one, you see some concrete wall or jersey barrier with temporary fencing and then grommets top and bottom. It doesn't get much easier than that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, like in the cities, you'll see just like that basic, just kind of a basic material that goes there to keep kind of the dust out and things like that. This is a much better option to keep sound also, from getting too loud when you're doing the construction. And I wish I'd see this, more when I'm visiting different cities. You got all this noise and construction going on and dirt, and these blankets would do so much of a better job.
Absolutely, and they do act as a dust barrier as well as a noise barrier. So they do serve a dual purpose. And these are some great in-the-field shots. Again, most common seen application will be on a chain link, and they can go up with very quickly with UV rated zip ties. We've seen stainless steel wire ties, galvanized wire ties, and then on the wooden structures, we'll see people using, installers using fender washers and screws, wood battens, but you always want to secure them both top and bottom. And that one in the middle there is, I believe, 16 feet. And those have grommets in the middle to kind of keep them from billowing out a little bit. And then on the bridge application, that's fairly unique. but we've seen that as well where they're doing demolition or bridge work, and they'll basically go between the pillars and underneath the entire section where they're doing the work to contain all of that sound. But it's very straightforward, self-explanatory. There's no magic in installing these, and they don't take a whole lot of time to put up or take down.
So one of the nice things too, I was kind of mentioning earlier about just like the dust and dirt barriers. One of the nice things is, especially New York City with such a strict noise code, we're actually written into the noise code for our particular products, which is nice. So if you're doing any projects in New York City area, we're literally written into the code, and you can kind of see a section from that that's written there in the technical specification section.
Yeah, that's right. I would say, again, anywhere in and around New York City, as far down as Baltimore, all the way north to Boston area, pretty much the Northeast kind of takes that lead for the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, noise mitigation, and they, plug that in. So construction barrier, BBC 13X 2-inch, doesn't get any simpler than that, and that is a bread and butter product. And we also are able to get it out the door very, very quickly. Sometimes it is a matter of 7 to 10 days for those projects that jump up where the construction goes up. We forgot to order these barriers. Can you help us out? So that's definitely a big forte for SoundSeal.
Absolutely. So we just talked through some case studies too. One of the huge ones that we're known for is the Big Dig. We were heavily involved in, the Big Dig up in Boston. There was project engineers were specifying the noise control requirements, had to be an STC of 32, NRC of a 0.85, and an 8 decibel, 8 dBA reduction. So we actually used, which I think the product we were just talking about on the previous slide, the BBC 13 2-inch. It's a noise barrier, sound absorber, curtain panels around the construction sites for neighborhood noise reduction. And we actually exceeded what they were asking for and got a 10 dBA reduction. So that was definitely, and obviously instrumental in, at one time there was all kinds of construction going on with the Big Dig, and we were a big part of that, which was definitely nice for the SoundSeal name and just showing the quality of the product.
Absolutely, and one of the funnier parts about that is when the construction finally finished. I mean, that project did take close to 15 to 20 years to complete. Every now and then when you'd pass through the Boston area, you'd still see some of these blankets hanging up for various other construction projects that had been repurposed. So even though we call it a temporary product for 3 to 5 years, they obviously lasted much longer than that, and they still look pretty good. So
that's pretty great. So maybe you can get a little bit more out of it than what we say. So
that's right. So we'll jump over into more permanent application, permanent products. And the real main difference here that I want everybody to know is that the barrier is the same. It's a reinforced product. The fiberglass quilt is the same, with one caveat. The difference really is the facing type. So the facing type on the temporary is not as UV resistant as the facing type that we use on what we refer to as permanent. And a permanent application, we look at a 10 to 15 year minimum life expectancy. Again, we've seen them much longer than that, on many sites. Reinforced barrier, again, it's really the sticking point here is wind load for the permanent product is rated at about 164 miles an hour, and it's really impervious if installed properly. We've got these things on the tops of roofs, chillers. I mean, they withstand quite a bit. Exterior grade Velcro, Gore Tanara thread, grommets across top, middle, and bottom as needed. And again, that wind load can't be beat.
Wind load is huge. I mean, obviously that's needed in a lot of different outdoor applications, depending on the environment that it's in.
Correct. That is correct. Here's some great shots of several different applications. The one on the top left was a shredder, I believe, Kevin, or I believe I'll talk about that just shortly here. And then a much smaller generator enclosure down to the right. And then the one on the bottom left is interesting. I believe we have a case study on that on our website as well. But it was a very unique. The wall in the distance was a metal wall that was intended to stop noise from those blowers, and it ended up not working. It wasn't close enough. It wasn't tall enough. So they called Sound Seal and said, "What do you do?" We walked them through and said, "This is what we recommend." They pulled the trigger on that, and everybody was happy because at the property line, nobody was hearing those loud noises anymore. So
Ended up costing them a little more than just building that initial wall, but the fact that they were able to put a more economical Sound Seal product up,
that's right.
might have been better to start that way, but we were definitely able to help them.
There you go. Installation very similar. UV rated zip ties on fencing. Permanent structures a lot of times will have safety fencing, especially in an industrial application. Things like chillers and blowers outside of commercial buildings, schools, hospitals will all have 8, 10, 12 feet, sometimes 16-foot high safety fencing, and these go up very easily and stay in place once you get them there. To the right-hand side is more of a steel frame and batten, where they use a fabricated frame and then they batten those top, bottom, and sometimes in the middle. But they're really versatile and can be attached to just about any frame system if you've got enough know-how. Let's see. There's a case study for the one we just talked about, natural gas pumping station. We use the EXTR. I know there's a lot of lingo and a lot of product type, but EXT, exterior, and R for us is long-term 2-inch quilt. And then they built a Super Duty structural frame with the red framing there, and then we were able to obtain a 16 dBA reduction at the property line, which was night and day compared to what they were looking at previously. They were actually going to be slapped with fines if they did not get this under a certain level at the property line, and it was a big victory there. There's the metal shredder. I love this story because they originally had metal panels in place. Occasionally, a propane tank would be shredded in there, and it would explode, and it would fly and destroy metal panels and put big holes with shrapnel. And they realized that if they switched to a flexible noise barrier, they could replace single sections of panel in the rare case that it did get damaged, and it actually was slightly better in reduction at the property line. They were really at 8 to 10 before with metal panels. Now they were at 12, and it was modular and replaceable. And they, to this day, every now and then we'll get an order for a panel or two to go on this steel structure that they built. And this is probably the most common application, left this one for last. Construction fencing that's going to be, long-term drilling. In Dayton, Ohio, they had a drilling operation that was probably going to persist for 8 to 10 years. And they knew that they were going to be fending neighborhood behind them. And they said, well, what do we do so we don't have to build giant permanent concrete or metal structure? Of course, engineering stepped in and said, hey, let's do this. And then they plugged in our particular product there. That's the back side. So what you're looking at is the barrier side, whereas a lot of the other photographs you see, you were looking at some quilt side. So there's the barrier back, and the quilt is facing the noise source. And I believe most of those panels are still up today in the Dayton area for that drilling project.
So one of the things we're super excited about talking about today, and we've done sub presentations on this recently, but we're very excited about new product lines that we were able to introduce. So we have a brand new product we were talking about, our temporary and our permanent products. This is more on the permanent side using an EXT fabric. And actually we've used a special fabric for this one, and actually we're able to add a bunch of colors as well. So we originally had 4 colors, which are essentially the 4 on the top, and we've now added an additional 8 colors. So, you got your reds, your greens, your blues. There's plenty of outdoor areas where you don't want to have just like a gray panel up. And so we have a lot more options now. So it's an acrylic coated woven polyester, and it's a flame retardant fabric covering. And it's designed for outdoor, as we've been talking about through this presentation. It's highly water repellent and mildew resistant and UV resistant. I think that's kind of crucial when you're thinking outdoor weathering situations. You're definitely going to need to have a strong, just a strong product that's very durable and it's going to be able to put up with the sunlight and the moisture and everything like that. It's also puncture resistant and has a high tensile and tear strength characteristics, and it's coated with stay true long lasting colors. I think that's really important. You know, you don't want your red to fade immediately or your blue or something like that. So it's definitely a high quality fabric, and we're excited to apply that to these new the new product line. So we have the Vivid, we call it our Vivid products. There's the barrier back composite or BBC. This is in this picture is the terracotta fabric. Pretty similar to what we've been talking about earlier. You have the grommets across the top, and you can do bottom as well. They're available in rolls, standard panels, custom panels. So it's a reinforced MLV backing. You can use either light gray, tan, or black. So we don't have the same, amount of colors for the backing, but it's much nicer than just having, say, a gray color or something like that. There's going to be applications where the tan or black might look a lot better and maybe won't bring as much attention to it. A lot of times on the other side of that barrier, you don't necessarily want to bring attention to it. So we can throw on like maybe a black barrier or something like that.
Yeah, and I'll jump in and say, in this particular photograph, what you're seeing are the tan barrier with a terracotta quilt, and that tan barrier is peeking through where we're joining panel to panel with a 2-inch vertical Velcro overlap. And so you're seeing the tan barrier that's on the backside. So if someone was standing on the backside, they would just be looking at that tan, and that tan goes very well with this setting, and but it still pops with color on the interior of this patio. Again, super excited about this, and samples available for everybody out there who are very interested in seeing more about this product. I'm going to give it right back to Kevan.
Yeah, it's great to have that option too, because if you think about having that slight reveal, it also kind of helps with just the material. You're maybe not having to order quite as much, and then having that reveal, you're also just kind of giving a nice look, and also maybe cutting down on the amount of product that you need. So it definitely is a great option. The products are Class A fire rated and got an NRC of 0.65 and an STC of 29. Not very far off at all from our typical products. I love this picture because it shows the a pickleball court, which has been just a very popular thing as of recently. We've been getting a lot of requests where people are saying, hey, we're really hearing a lot of noise from these pickleball courts and we don't like that at all. So how can we reduce this sound? How can we do anything about it? Now we're able to present basically options in full colors, which can actually fit really nicely for this type of environment. So to just cover some of the applications, we also, besides the pickleball courts, we have construction sites, we have outdoor dining venues like we saw in the other picture, zoos and animal sanctuaries. We're actually doing a project in the Pacific Northwest in a zoo right now. They didn't opt to do the color option, but we're hoping in the future to get them to maybe pick the color of their logo for the zoo or something like that. Then there's also indoor applications, music venues, manufacturing facilities, mechanical enclosures, and distribution centers as well. Another great picture, great use of color with this hunter green fabric, able to use it even on something like a rooftop bar, rooftop pool deck area. It's definitely it's almost a design statement, and really it's also having a very practical purpose. You don't want the sound to be bouncing off to other rooftops. And if anybody's recently hung out in a setting like that and you can just hear voices traveling across, from building to building, it can be pretty annoying. So this is definitely a good way to bring that down as well.
Yeah, they took that privacy privacy wall there and said, hey, we're going to mitigate all that harsh reflection that's going to definitely come off of the pool water itself, but also from all the people that are hanging out and partying on that patio. So it's just a great application.
And so in addition to the Vivid products, this is kind of going outside of the realm of our typical industrial or quilted fabric options. We also have our aerial products, which kind of comes from our architectural side. So, we have our semi-rigid baffles and our rigid baffles and wall baffles. We're actually turned them also into some new options here for the architectural side. You can use these for a little bit more finished spaces as well. I mean, really, you can use it for the other applications we were talking about. But this, shows outdoor dining, pavilions, music venues, amphitheaters, amusement parks. You can also use it for mechanical equipment enclosures, manufacturing, or field houses. This is the wall baffle option. So the other one is our hanging baffle, and then these are our wall baffles. So we could do custom sizes up to a 4x10, and again, pick a color that matches that corporate branding or elevates the look and ambience of the space. And we were able to get an NRC of 0.7 with this product as well. So nice to also kind of touch on the architectural products that are also used for outdoor noise control. And just wanted to kind of cover both sides of that.
Absolutely, and that's you almost have to do a double take to find that product in this photograph, just above the tables and the booths there. But again, same theory with the rooftop pool that you saw earlier. All of that harsh reflection off of any hard surface or wall is going to be knocked down considerably by applying these products, and they're extremely weather resistant, wipeable, cleanable, and just long lasting, not to mention good looking.
Absolutely. And hey, appreciate everybody's time. I know, I think we've come to the end of the presentation. I know we've covered a lot today. If you have any questions or anything like that, we have our contact information here. Please feel free to reach out to either Aaron or myself. We'll be glad to answer any questions and help you through any projects that you have or ideas that you have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave this up for at least another minute or two, and just let us know if you need any additional samples, if you've got any projects in the works you want to plug this into, and you want to get some submittals rolling, some larger samples. We do have a small quantity of all of those colors available so that we can fabricate something for you. Just keep us posted and let us know how we can help and apply some of these products to your new project.
Yep, and I didn't see any questions come up throughout the presentation, so I think we're going to close here today, but I do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for taking some time out this afternoon to join us and learn more about our outdoor noise control options. Again, please feel free to reach out or also visit our website for additional information and test reports and data sheets so you can kind of find everything you need.
Thanks again, everyone.